What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to do better, look better, love better. I guarantee you Scotty Scheffler uses Skymint Premium Cannabis. There's just no way a man like that wins the Masters otherwise. And something that Scotty Scheffler should be doing now is calling Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. Mark and Jay presenting tonight's show, our Sunday evening show. If you've got investment questions, if you've want to get your money working for you in a market that's a little more volatile than it was the previous 18 months, if you're wondering about investing for retirement, your kid's college education, Social Security benefits, anything, any questions you have about investment, Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management want to help you. That's 248-626-2000. You can email Mark and Jay at info@northcoastwm.com. Let them know Couch and the Rube sent you for a free consultation. We'll hope Scotty Scheffler is listening to the show, and that prize money from the Masters is something that Mark and Jay can help him with. How you doing, man?
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Hi, Graham. Is it possible to have money spread out through 20 golfers and not one finishes in the top 10?
It's absolutely possible.
I mean, baseball was fun to bet on over the weekend, but the Masters, man, it can just absolutely take your soul away. And by the way, many people I respect that I follow their picks sometimes said Scotty Scheffler, stay away from him. The number one player right now, won 3 times on tour. Yeah, fade him. Plays Augusta all the time. What an amateur thing there. I mean, I love the people I follow. I'm just saying, sometimes
I read it earlier.
Go with the gut feel.
Here's the thing: the live line was still pretty profitable with him. And
Andrew Gauthier got plus money after I think middle of the third round. He told me
I got him at plus 1,200.
What
in the second round?
Nice,
because he was the leader. I mean, it was like, well, why is the guy as the leader still plus 1,200?
Because those golf tournaments can flip.
I know.
In a matter of minutes.
I didn't put a ton, but I hedged all the other stuff I had. I was like, so I put enough to win a few $100,
Happy for you.
Yeah, no problem. I just, fired up the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, found Scotty Scheffler, the new Scheffler, so to speak, at, is Scheffler the guy in American Pie? Is that who was that? Stifler. God,
yeah.
Dang it. I've been thinking it was Scheffler the whole time. I had a good joke about that. It's not really
should have tweeted that out, though.
And got it wrong? Yeah. No, it didn't.
Start calling you Schefter.
Well, there's a whole other guy.
Yeah, don't ruin my second take.
Okay. There's some other. We're going to get into him a little bit. All right. So, as we do with all of our Sunday evening shows, we begin with our hot takes, followed by yours. The first of our 3 hot takes. Jason, are you ready?
I am absolutely ready. Speaking of gambling.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Need.
All right, Gramanito. What did we learn in this 3-game sample size against the White Sox? I don't know if I learned much.
Okay.
I mean, game 1, we're talking about they had to make a miraculous comeback. Now, I think that lineup, that the White Sox lineup, they're going to be up 2-0 on a lot of teams this year. But Tariq Skubal walking guys today. I just, by the way, they should have Jack White in the Tigers booth more often. Like, what is going on with Bally's? Like, I got to say, there is no entertainment value. I know we're going to preface this with Matt Shepard is a great guy, and Dominic makes me laugh goofing on those guys. Like, I'm not saying they're bad guys whatsoever, but it's the most boring broadcast. It's like going to a baseball game and, listening to guys commentate on a funeral. Well, there has to be some entertainment value. And Jack Morris, get him out of the booth because he's scared to say anything after last year's Shohei Ohtani thing. Kurt Gibby, we love Gibby, but come on, man. No, and Shepard, it's just something's got to happen.
And I'll say this: I am now grossly offended by the description that I was, 69ing Brennan Quinn last week. Because if that was what 69ing is, then what the hell was what Shepard was doing with Chris Ilitch on opening day? That was the worst interview ever, and the worst few moments of just.
By the way, that's the 4th time you brought up the 69ing with Quinn thing. That must have bothered you.
I just didn't think it was real.
We were just showing respect. It was impressive to listen to.
Yeah.
Watching, listen to audio 69ing. But yeah, I just don't know what you do. And I know Shepard is that professional guy, and he does the status quo thing and the business guy and this and that. But like Gibby wants to bust balls. Gibby is there to allow you to bust balls for him, and these guys don't want to touch it. Is it the Parkinsons? I don't know. But Gibby doesn't give a shit. He wants to talk.
Well, here's the problem: is I do think what he really needs is a stronger color guy too. Like you need if you have a really strong color guy, I just don't think they're.
Someone has to have fun in the booth.
Yeah.
These games are god awful. They're so long. I love baseball, but you have to admit, man, there's a lot of lulls. And if you have just two guys talking like NPR,
you got to tell stories.
It's going to be a long season, man.
And it can't always be this sort of positivity.
Shit, that's Bally's.
Oh man,
come on, man.
It's brutal. It's
never going to go away, no matter who they get.
It's too much. It's way.
Mario Rod. Bring it back.
So this will flow right into my one of my hot takes, which was the Tigers are going to be damn hard to bet for or against all this season. That's what I'm reading out of the first weekend. Like our whole plan of betting for them this year, we can do it.
3 games in.
I'm just like, but
we're making plans,
right? And it's the White Sox, and I get that they're a good team, and so there will be teams where the Tigers lineup is more imposing, and that'll feel good.
Yeah,
but it does feel like this is a team that is. Like their lineup is certainly better than it has in previous years, so you can't count on them ever to get trounced. Like they're going to rally, they're going to fight. This Sunday's game wasn't great, but and their pitching looks like it could be decent in parts and good in parts, but it's still young and developing in other places.
Again, that White Sox lineup is a bunch of hammers, though.
Eloy,
Abreu.
Here's my suggestion. We let this ride for 2 weeks of not touching it. I mean, we can touch it on our own because you and I, we're degenerates. We're going to do it here and there.
Of course.
But what I mean is a show, we don't make up our mind. Because I think all year it's going to be really hard to judge. I think you're better off getting on like the season wins line and just hoping they get above 78.5 and enjoying it that way. Because I think on a day-in, day-out basis, it's really hard to read. And they're also a lineup that's capable. Like it used to be if the Tigers got behind, I know Sunday it played out this way, you could kind of say, well, okay, let's jump on the live line. This is going south. This lineup's good enough for it not to go south. So that's what I learned. It's going to be very hard to predict what happens. It's going to be a much better year, but there are also going to be games where,
who's up next? The Guardians, or who do we have? Are we going to learn something? I guarantee you after the next 2 games, if they win 5-1 or something like that, we're going to flip our whole thing. I just think the White Sox lineup, they're just a murderer's row. It's tough.
They got the Red Sox next.
Red Sox
are supposed to be decent, but they're not great. But who knows? We'll learn a little more. All right, what is your second hot take?
Adam Schefter, what are you doing? What's going on? I understand that you have to be first. You have to get those thumbs out and tweet out stuff first. But how about we just chill on death, though? Do you have to be first on a death? We're going to read your stuff no matter what. I don't think if you want to be first on the Tom Brady thing, totally understand that. If someone gets hit on a highway, passes away, I don't think you give a eulogy. Now, did I expect that reaction after that happened? Absolutely not. Do I think people overreacted? Absolutely. One player told Adam Schefter he should dig up a hole and die in it. Are we overreacting to that too?
I think.
Come on, man.
But yes, I think there was some overreaction. But here's the problem: is Adam Schefter's initial tweet to the passing of I'm blanking on his name right now. Help me out.
Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins. Jeez, I apologize.
R.I.P.
So anyway, his original and everything I've read about Haskins. Like, it is interesting because I had no idea about a lot of things I've read about Haskins. There have been some interesting pieces I've read where he seems like, because we always see a person who's struggling as a quarterback.
That's what sells. People want to see that stuff.
But what I mean is we don't get to learn about people all that well. And I think also it was limited because of his the other thing that happened the last couple of years, and this is why you want locker rooms open, by the way, NFL and NBA and everybody like this. During the COVID time, we didn't really get a lot of great stories on people because there wasn't a lot of great access to certain things like this. You didn't get to know people the way you get to know them in certain settings in professional sports. And so his early years were spent in this sort of pandemic time when you're not really learning about. So there are a lot of things about him. He seems like he was a pretty decent dude. And we didn't know much about him. But that's beside the point. Nobody at 24,
but people
20.
say that about when someone passes away,
Sure.
though. They see videos and like, where was this why was this not talked about? Because it doesn't sell. People don't click on that shit, unfortunately.
So what Schefter got shit for was in the initial tweet, as he's describing who this man is, before he mentions he's dead. And it's the order sort of too. It's like struggled to catch on in the NFL died. Like,
and then started blocking people after he deleted the tweet, redid it, kind of fixed it, and then started blocking people left and right. I mean, is that the way to handle this shit?
Here's the way to handle it. It's real easy. Now, first of all, I think the way he phrased it is telling of a guy who's way too in the breaking news. Football players aren't people; they're just sort of sources that I work, that I report on mode, and I do. But at the end of it, you can go like you can see a situation where you tweet something out and you go, "Holy shit, that seems a little insensitive," and that's all you got to say. You got to say, "Hey, I deleted a tweet; it was insensitive." And then the phrasing of it, I apologize. I didn't mean it to come across that way. And
I love cringe kind of humor and stuff, but if I read something, not saying he was trying to be funny, but if I read something and go, oh shit, that's not good.
It's not good.
I don't get offended by anything really.
And here's the problem for Schefter. It's not that this was the first time. I think he's not the. We talk about people having unsympathetic faces. Yep. Schefter is not a likable guy, and he's become less likable in the last couple of years. And he's done things for me in journalism. I would have fired his ass after the whole thing with.
Of course,
with Aaron Rodgers, where he just decided to break the news that day because it had been building toward that because he was upset somebody else had posted something and beaten him to it. Like, that ain't journalism, Chief. Like, I would have blackballed his ass too. Like that guy, I don't care how good he is. It kiss ass journalism anyway, I'm not going to go. I do not like Adam Schefter as a journalist, a journalist. So, and I think a lot of people on some of he's not a sympathetic character. So when something like this happens, it creates, he's not somebody who gets the benefit of the doubt. There are
does
people
ESPN do this to him where he has to break news and in his head he knows maybe that isn't the way to go about it because that is in your brain.
But you could
you tweet that out and you preface it with his failures before you talk about his death. That's in your brain.
No, that's who you are.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
That's the problem.
But see, if Schefter would have come out and made a video or something that said, "Listen, people make mistakes. I am really sorry the way that I did this tweet." Instead, he starts blocking people.
Totally
right.
The problem, what's revealing of his character, is not that he screwed up. We all screw up. I've sent
absolutely.
I sent a tweet in the hour and then the minutes after Michigan's plane went off the runway that was fairly insensitive.
Do you know how many people punch their iPads and laptops to your tweet?
Yeah, constantly
punching their iPad.
And when I do that, and I went on a number of radio shows because I had to sort of explain what I was talking about. I was willing to talk to anybody about it, and because it became a big deal in the Michigan State rivalry community sort of thing that I had said this.
Why couldn't we be doing a podcast at that time?
Yeah, all it was
great.
What was funny about that, where I screwed up was just not having enough information. Number one, I was drunk in a whiskey bar in Washington D.C. I think. Found this great whiskey bar, a little basement place, jazz. It was unbelievable.
Was Quinn there?
He was not. He was not. He would have liked it, though. It's a good place. And I've had a couple, and the first readings were not how serious it was. It was like, they're playing something, skidded on the runway or something like that. The first news wasn't that, and they're going to have to come the next day. And so my tweet was about, sort of from a basketball perspective, how that can affect them. I think and the word that got me in trouble was I said the word pampered, right? And because what I was talking about was my junior college experience covering teams that showed up an hour before the game, put down their McDonald's wrappers and ran for an hour and were fine. And then watching teams like Purdue and Michigan State at times when they had to bus be greatly affected by it. And so my point was like, the more pampered you get as a Division I athlete, it's like tennis players, right? In high school, you can deal with any sound or whatever, but these pros hear like one whisper and they yell at the crowd, right?
Come on, Graham, be better.
So
anyway, a lot of those tweets.
Anyway, I've also done other tweets that weren't great at times, but this is one of those that's just different than other. I mean, like.
I don't know. I just think you're overreacting too. Yeah, was it bad? Yes. Did he not apologize? That sucks. Has he not apologized yet?
No, but that's the thing. That's to me the issue. It's not so much the tweet; it's the reaction to the tweet.
See, I'm on board then, if that's what you're saying. But if you're saying like just the tweet itself, yes, it was terrible and bad taste. It was deleted quickly. But man, it's how you follow up with that. Like Juwan Howard, if he would apologize right away.
Right, he was bad in the locker room. Right, he was bad in the locker room right after, and it didn't make it. It didn't make it better. And look, I've also doubled down on tweets before, and sometimes I still agree with them. I'm not saying that.
But
doesn't.
People love to forgive, though.
But people also love to overreact. There were a lot of people who were way too far on Schefter, like he had murdered Dwayne Haskins.
Die in a hole.
Like, I mean, it's like it gets to a point where, like, okay, we just have to be angry at somebody on Twitter that day, and you're the guy.
And then how happy is Ian Rappaport? Because people were like, yeah, I always knew Ian Rappaport was the better guy. Like, did you?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So what is your third hot take?
Oh, that was my second take.
Oh, that was your second. Oh,
that was a part of yours too. I can go.
No. I'll go two.
All right.
All right. Let's go some MSU basketball. I'm looking at this MSU basketball roster next year. Sans any addition, and I think they do need to add in the portal. I think they do need to get somebody who's some sort of rim protection, rebounding piece to add to this. But I was talking to Andrew Gauthier, from Groovy Donuts today about this. If I'm Michigan State's coaching staff, I'm sitting down with parts of the roster right now. And some of this is predicated on Max Christie coming back. And I do think one thing that is going to help with that, and this is something that was pointed out to me the other day, is that May 1st is the transfer portal deadline. This year, it's not like last year in the COVID year, it was July 1st. So I don't think that's when you have to make your decision, but you have to get in the portal. So if Max Christie isn't in the portal as of May 1st, so we'll know pretty quickly, then a guy like that's got two choices. You're either going to the NBA or you're coming back, and then it becomes a little more clear-cut. And I think that'll help coaches put together their rosters in a better way. But if I'm the coaching staff, I'm hoping Max Christie comes back, but I'm looking at the roster and certain guys, and I'm grabbing the 2000 championship team as an example. And I'm trying to convince some guys to step their level of play to a level that I think is achievable. For example, if Julius Marble was a guy they recruited, in him they saw the next Andre Hudson. He has not become that. But they liked his lateral movement. They liked some things he did. And that's all you need him to become. And Andre Hudson was a really good player, but he was a little longer, but he wasn't that. He was like 6'8" as well, long arms. But he wasn't the biggest dude in the world. He was just aggressive. He was, and if they don't land somebody, Marble's going to get plenty of time to be out there, and they're going to need him to be consistent. You look at Joey Hauser, if he comes back, and you look at a guy like A.J. Granger. Joey Hauser could be A.J. Granger in a lot of ways. Like that's not above his ability in certain things. Now, Granger became a very consistent shooter, and that's what they need from Hauser. And
don't coach my team.
You look at what can a guy like Christie as a sophomore be close enough to Morris Peterson? Can a guy like Jaden Akins be a young, they use the comparison to Charlie Bell. You're not trying to mimic a team, but what I'm saying is when you're trying to get a group to buy into an attitude they need to have in terms of toughness and reach a level of play to make them truly a contender as a 2-year group with a lot of the same people. There's an example of people that I don't think talent-wise are all that much better than them that took Michigan State to the highest level. Now, basketball was allowed to be played a little different back then. You foul out if you play like that team today. And so there's some differences. But I do think that would be my I think they need to add a piece. And there are some guys in the portal that are interesting. I don't know who they'll wind up with. I do think they'll wind up with somebody there. But a lot of what's going to happen next year for Michigan State is internal development. Yes, you'd like to solidify yourself at the 5. But ultimately, if Hauser comes back and you're playing a lot of Malik Hall, he may have some minutes. You got to find ways to make that work if you're the staff too. I think this is I don't think this team needs as much from outside as it feels like. I think they need a little help on the interior. They need to make sure they're solid there, that they have another option there. But what they really need is internal development. And they really need those guys to understand the mindset and the growth that they need to have, and then it's on them. And that's something I've started to think more and more as you look at the roster compared to other rosters. And, college basketball rosters grow all the time. Nobody thought Iowa was going to be any good this year. By the end of the year, I was picking them to be in the final. Now, it didn't work out. But what I mean is from year to year, it's really hard to tell. They need that growth this year, and they need to convince those guys to be accountable to get it done themselves. And I mean, not only to benefit their own careers, but they recruited a guy like Julius Marble, seeing Andre Hudson in him. So you got to get that guy to try to find that level. All right, any thoughts?
No, what's the hot take? Are you just trying to get Michigan State like into the show somehow?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, is that what the whole thing was?
Look, this is what we do.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I just.
What do you want the hot take to be there? I don't think that Michigan State needs as much from outside. I think what they need is, and what's more important to them is what happens internally.
Yeah.
That's
they need a big.
That's the hot take. And but the big doesn't necessarily have to come from outside. I mean, I do think they're going to do something there. I would be stunned if the roster does not add a piece somewhere. But the other interesting part about that is the transfer portal. A lot of those decisions will be made and will be completed by the time they know what Max Christie's going to do. So they're going to have to also make decisions based on that as well. What is your third hot take?
Well, speaking of Spartan basketball, Tum Tum, we always laugh about how Tum Tum once said, hey, a loss in basketball isn't a big deal. At least we don't have cancer. Well, 76-year-old Australian, I don't know what they call him over there, prime minister or whatever, Bob Catter was asked about gay marriage, and he compared it to something interesting.
People are entitled to their sexual proclivities. I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
So he compared gay marriage somehow, and apparently in Australia, there's someone dying, getting eaten alive by a crocodile in every 3 months.
But that's not that many.
Oh, no. I just wanted to play it for the Australian accent.
It's pretty good. That's still not that many people. But it's concerning. It reminds me of why I don't get out of the car on rest areas in the South at night.
I would have to move. If that was the case of someone getting eaten alive by a crocodile, I think you have to move.
But did you ever watch Rescue 911 as a kid?
Oh, absolutely.
So like every episode began with little Jimmy wandering into the backyard and there's a rattlesnake. If Rescue 911 should have made like Georgia and Louisiana uninhabitable. Like they should just roped off those states. It's like way too dangerous to let a kid wander around.
And cops. That aired right after it.
Yeah.
Double dose.
Yeah.
Don't move there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that was your third hot take.
That was it.
All right, my third hot take. Scotty Scheffler.
Cold-blooded.
And likable. It's not often we get a guy like this that sort of this seems like an everyman, has quotes that come across like, and then you see him at the end. He's the ultimate everyman. He's got to hit one putt to close this out, and he 3 putts from like 2 feet away. Like that would made him.
I don't know how these guys hit golf shots like that with everyone watching.
That made him even more likable to me. Like here's a guy, and like you could see his reaction. I was like, what if he 5 putts this and doesn't win it? Like I
still had 2 more.
To me, Scotty Scheffler is one of the most likable new Masters champion. And there have been a lot of guys that I'm saying I don't like.
Not John Daly or anything, though.
No, but he's relatable.
Likeable to you.
But he's relatable.
He's relatable to you.
He's relatable. He's likable. He almost fucked it up at the end. You know, he says the right things. He was a guy who kind of came out of nowhere before this year.
Yeah, but is he going to go crack a Miller Lite?
Probably.
Pop a couple Vicodin? No.
Well,
he's not relatable.
Not
he's
to you.
Cold-blooded, yeah. No, I'm not. Well, I'm just saying, watching that dude, I just don't know how these guys like 2-putt, double bogey, and then sit there and go to the next hole with everyone watching, and they're all talking shit, the Crow crowd.
That wasn't even going to be my third hot take, but I'm going to save my third hot take for during the show based on what some listeners say on some other stuff, because I feel like
Speaking of the Masters, Craig Robinson, who listens to the show, sent something to me. Did you know this about Jim Nance? Now, we all know how douchey the tie, him giving the most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament, his tie after the game, but he carries a picture of burnt toast in his wallet because when he gets breakfast at a diner in the morning, he wants his toast burnt to a crisp, and he's sent back, a lot of toast, and it's taken up so much of his time, 10 minutes at breakfast every time. So his wife printed off a picture of burnt toast that he shows the waitress every time.
That's what he wants it to look like.
Now, you want to talk about not relatable.
Jim Nance is not relatable.
Jim Nance is walking not relatable.
But Jim Nance is not relatable in a lot of ways.
He's got a golf hole in his backyard.
And he cuts off his tie and gives it to people. Like that, it's just not.
Wait, he cuts it off? He doesn't even take it off?
Doesn't he cut it? Or does he take it off?
I hope he does.
Maybe he gives it. I don't know what he does.
I thought he took it off. But come on.
I had a soccer take that I'm going to save for during the show because enough listeners got into it. And my one of my other takes, a couple of my other takes here were such ass that I feel like we need to get on.
Carmen Electra's hot.
Yeah, we need to get on to the listener hot take. So let's just do that right off the gate.
All right, Eric Schultz up first. Number one, we need to stop saying the 2014 MSU basketball team fell short because of Appling's wrist. Appling also faded down the stretch in 2013, and his wrist injury didn't cause his defense to go to hell. That was my senior year, and I'm still bitter as hell about it. 2, even though today was nice, this has been the worst year of spring weather in a long, long time. And 3, the least shocking part of the weekend was yet another confirmation that Adam Schefter is a raging a-hole.
He comes
It's always
across.
great when an unlikable guy, though, starts getting flamed.
Yeah.
I do like it, but it's gone a little too far. But
well, yeah, some people were a little too up in arms about it. It's like, let's worry more about this guy died. That sucks than what Schefter's doing here. Let's go to number one here. Here would be my disagreement with you, Eric. And having covered those two teams and Appling, like there were questions about Appling coming into 2013-14, and I thought who he was for the first 2 months though of 2013 or the 2013-14 year was just different than who he ended. Like he had taken himself to another level. He had absolutely taken himself to another level as a player, and that to me, the wrist injury changed that because it got in his head. It affected his confidence. It changed everything, and so I do think that the wrist injury itself at times it wasn't as bad as it was at other times. I think Michigan State handled that poorly. They played him at Georgetown in a meaningless non-league game in February 1st or against Georgetown in Madison Square Garden. And I wrote a column that to this day I stand behind that Izzo disagreed with. And this is one of the first times Izzo really ever got pissed off at me. One of the very, very, very first times. I wrote a column, and we did a great little illustration on the cover of the LSJ, how the puzzle pieces all go together with Appling. And I suggested they sit him for 2 weeks. They needed that wrist to get right. They needed his head to get right. And they needed to just sit him and have a reset. And Izzo was like, he's the point guard. Everything else goes to shit without him. And I'm like, you're trying to win a national title. I just disagreed with him. And Izzo very much disagreed with me.
Don't coach my team.
But anyway, I to this day, I still think that wrist, and I still remember the first fall on it. I think that had, now, they also ran into an incredibly hot UConn guard. That team might have won it anyway. But that team was never the same when Appling was never the same.
Dominic up next. Number one, Graham was talking about winning the Bobby Higginson bat at a church auction, then said all I had to do was rub off. I swear he was going to say rub off a priest. Instead, he said Bobby Higginson's signature. Wasted opportunity for a good altar boy joke. Do better, Graham. 2, in the course of a month, Graham has been an apologist for the following: Brad Davison, Bill Self, John Calipari, Adolf Hitler, and Harvey Weinstein. Perhaps I freelanced, but fuck. Come on, Graham. 3, baseball live betting unders. First inning, first 3 innings, first 5 innings. I'll never lose another fucking bet. I'll never lose another bet. Not even Tony Dombrowski's feline birthday suit can bring me down. Play the Tiger music.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
That was a great suit, by the way. And everybody's favorite bonus take, Adam Schefter is ovarian cancer, respectively.
Respectfully.
Respectfully.
It works both ways.
It does.
Okay, a couple things here. One, let's be very clear. The freelancing, Hitler and Weinstein were definitely freelancing. Okay,
I was like, did he really?
No. I mean, Davis and Self, Calipari. Okay, the next two.
That's what's great about that show. I read that list. I'm like, did he really?
No, I know. And you forget. Yeah, and I'm like, God, I hope not. And then I'm like, wait a second. No, I did not. Yeah, no. Are you winning like cold weather baseball betting? There is opportunities for the unders.
Yes. I don't bet the under. No, I've been taking the run line in certain spots, but yeah, it's still early.
I'm still getting a feel.
I got
for
hammered
teams.
on the Masters, so I might need like a week and a half break.
Yeah, that
you know
happens.
what I mean?
Golf can kill you. I mean, like golf. Here's the problem with golf tournaments, especially for people like you and I, because regular golf tournament. First of all, golf is always hard to win money on.
Sure,
but if you're going to do it on the John Deere Classic. Probably do it on the regular events. And the people who watch every single week probably have a better chance. Sort of like MAC basketball. Do it on the other events. The Masters, we get geared up for. We're fired up. We want to have some action.
What's sad is I do watch every event.
Well,
I have been watching every event.
Another issue altogether.
Yeah, 1-800-GAMBLER. Maybe. Number 1, either play someone in the spring game or rebrand it. 2, state capitol buildings are underrated tourist attractions. And 3, I'm happy Howard Stern adores his wife. They should never be together on air. It's unlistenable. It sure is.
Have you listened to with
yeah.
Oh,
it was the beginning of the end. Yeah, it was because Howard has been in his basement ever since the whole pandemic thing.
Okay.
And she was there cleaning the house constantly. It was when Stern was microwaving his packages and shit that he was getting in the mail because he was so freaked out. Anyway, it's just you bring your wife on or whatever, and it's just kind of
here's what I think if you do it one I think if we were to have if Elizabeth came in to do this with me one day when you were out, I think people would listen, or even with the both of us. Don't you think?
I would think so. It's just who his wife is, though. She's kind of an annoying person.
Okay.
If you have a wife on that is interesting and doesn't mind, busting chops a little bit, there's a difference in that. But she's just talking about what she's going to do in her day and stuff, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah, that's not good. To Michelle's first point here, that play someone in the spring game or rebrand it. The idea of playing another team or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be cool in college football. Here's the problem with playing somebody else in the spring game. Number one, some years you do have where you don't have enough depth at one position to do it really well. But the other problem is you wouldn't get to play as many guys because you're scrimmaging right against each other. So you're trying to play your whole roster quite a bit. The spring game is the only opportunity some of these guys get. And then beyond that, or the only time, in other words, you're still trying to evaluate everybody. The problem is you'd have to go somewhere else. You'd have to play on the road sometimes. And so do you play 2 spring games? And maybe you do. Maybe you partner with another school every year and you say, hey, we're going to do a spring scrimmage at your place and one at our place, and we'll play a couple each week, 2 different weekends. We'll get something out of it. I just don't know if it's necessary. I think people kind of know what they are. I
agree with what she's saying, but it's just, I think it is what it is, and you just have to take it or leave it. Just don't pay attention or go to it and pay attention. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Neurotic Pants. Number 1, who submits regularly? He who submits regularly should have his hot takes read earlier on occasion. Good thing I got he right. That really changed the sentence. 2, he who goes to Kalamazoo will come back to assume the rains in East Lansing. And 3, he who lives in North Lansing sees lovely houses next to horrid rentals. He also sees broken roads and sidewalks.
Appreciate you, Mr. Neurotic Pants, and you'll notice how high up in the show you are on this occasion here. Number 2, the idea, what he's saying here is he who goes to Kalamazoo, meaning Dwayne Stevens, will come back to assume the reins in East Lansing. It's not out of the realm. The question is, what do you think Dwayne Stevens would have to do, in your mind, at Western Michigan to be in the running? Say it's 5 years. What would he have to do in the next 5 years to be in the running to be seriously considered to replace Izzo?
I think he has to go to the NCAA tournament at least twice. I think at least.
Yeah.
Give him a year and a half, but I think he's got to get to that team to the tournament.
Yeah, and I don't know that they have to, how many times, I think they have to get to the tournament once, I think, without question.
In 5 years?
Yeah, once. But what I'm saying is what's a one-bid league? I think the other thing is he needs to sustain quality. So, that league, you can have bad luck because you don't want to hire John Gross. You don't want to hire the guy who only wins the conference tournament. You're better off hiring the guy who wins it once and is always at the top of the league otherwise. Like if he takes a program that last year was awful and hasn't been very good for a couple years and builds it into a regular, really good mid-major team and they make a tournament, I think people will look at him as, hey, this might work. He's shown he can do it as a head coach. He was a big part of what Izzo did, and I think he'll get a look.
Jake Hawkins, number 1, my expectations for the Tigers this season is have a final record above 500 and be in the conversation for a wild card spot. Don't necessarily have to make the playoffs, but if they do, that'll be good and a huge step in the right direction. 2, this coming Saturday, I'll be participating in the Izzo 5K run walk. Always been wanting to do it. Probably won't run for the whole thing, but I think it'll be a fun thing to do. And despite that it's not green versus white, I'll still go to the MSU spring game. It's football. And 3, last Monday's championship game was pretty epic, but one thing I've noticed is at the end, one shining moment seems to be a little rushed, fast-paced, and watered down, unlike past years. I wonder if we'll ever see it with Izzo and MSU winning it all sometime soon.
So, are you going to take part in the? When's the last time? Because you and I think the thing that has come closest to tearing you and Teresa apart is your questioning her.
I didn't question it. I was questioning. Do you bring it up around other people that actually run 5Ks that you finished a 5K? If you talk about finishing a 5K like someone that runs it, I just don't think you can. You have to kind of be the, oh yeah, by the way, I walked it.
Right. Because I mean I walk a 5K pretty much every day. In total with my mother.
Where?
And my mother.
Mom? Okay.
So if we go on 2 walks a day, we do about 1.5 miles each. And so 3.1 is 5K. I don't come home every day to Elizabeth like, whew.
Right.
Just put in a 5K.
That was my only question.
Yeah,
and then Rico flipped it in to try to, separating us. I didn't really care. I just was saying, would you put that on the sticker on the back of the car that you finished a 5K? That's all.
Yeah, no, and I think
Rico was trying to get me to walk from the Capitol down to Michigan State. I'm like, why? Yeah, okay.
I do believe it was a 10K too, right? With Teresa that she'd done, she'd walked a 10K.
I don't know, maybe.
But either it was walking. It's
5K.
just so different. I mean, I can walk 100K tomorrow, but I can't run a 5K tomorrow.
No,
right? It's
saying it makes me out of breath.
It's different, and and not only that, it's not even that good for you. It's just constant pounding on your knees. Whereas, I'm not saying it's not, if you're in good shape, it's not good for you.
Like something like fat people say.
Well, no, but
it's just bad for your knees.
I'm just saying, even in my best shape, you get more out of 2 hours of basketball than you do a 5K. That's just my own take.
Real upper deck jerk guy. Number 1, Izzo needs to stop recruiting clean, especially since Self just won a natty with issues that he never had to address. 2, the spring game won't be attended well enough to support what CMT is doing.
Coach Mel Tucker, sorry.
All right. 3, the only thing watching golf is good for is betting and napping.
2 things. 1, you'll notice, Mr. Neurotic Pants, that Jake and Real Upper Deck Jerk Guy are very high in today's show.
Yeah.
One thing I will tell people is I only know what CMT means because I've seen it on Twitter questions. And that even threw me off.
Country music channel.
Right,
I never
right.
know with the jerk guy.
The Coach Mel Tucker thing is CMT is not taken off. It's not a thing. Most people don't know what the fuck that is. So let's
slap
drop
that shit in neon and put it on a shirt.
I'm
wearing one.
It must be in a.
If Graham hates it,
it must be on a message board or something somewhere that everybody's getting used to that. But
CMT coming.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. But here's the thing: the spring game won't be attended well enough to support what Mel Tucker's doing. My pushback on that is the spring game attendance stuff is irrelevant. It just is. It doesn't mean the biggest spring game Michigan State football ever had, I believe, was the 2016 year coming out of the playoff where D'Antonio was like, the next step as a program is to get 50K, and they nearly got it. And then they went 3-9. It's irrelevant. It's something to talk about in April. It's something to sort of brag about. It's something nitwits like me say, hey, these people in Ohio have no life balance because 95,000 of them went there. And I've said stupid things like that. I just don't think that it matters to the momentum or buzz that is around what's being done. And frankly, I don't think the spring game, they're opening a practice, but they don't care about putting on a show either. That's just not what they're trying to do as a program. What matters is the fall. I think Michigan State fans are kind of over that a little bit. And I think the spring game craze that was around 6-7 years ago and people trying to, I think that's on too. I just don't think people care all that.
I mean, if they
much.
make the college football playoff, do you think the next season the spring game would be sold out? I just don't know. I just think people have something else to do.
I think it's so
and
not only that, it's like the spring game is a practice. It gives you a little bit of a scrimmage. It's in a natural time of year for football, and a lot of it's weather dependent. Like this Saturday's not supposed to be great. It's supposed to be like 50 degrees and maybe cloudy and like that. If you get an April day where it's 7, if you get today, for example, where it was 60 and sunny, then you'll get a good crowd. It gets a little chilly. It's like, I don't know if I want to do that because you're not competing for anything other than getting to see what's sort of on the field. Not, when there's a new, I think like guys like, Caton Hauser, people want to see, there are some draws. I think the biggest draws are ever when you have a new starting quarterback, perhaps, or a young quarterback who hasn't played before. People want to see that. But yeah, I just don't think it's all that important to the overall. I mean, I think that narrative was this brief moment in time that sort of passed. I haven't heard anybody anywhere on Twitter talk about how big their spring game crowd is in a few years.
And on to his number 1, though. Izzo's gone too far running a clean program to start cheating now because people listen. Bill Self has to live with that, right? People talking behind his back. Where Izzo, everyone loves Izzo and knows how pure of a coach he is. Where Bill Self walks around, Bill Self knows people don't respect him.
That's the weird thing. I don't think everybody loves Izzo, but I do think that most people think he's clean, even if they don't like him. And if you don't think he's clean, then you really haven't taken time to understand how much the cheating is just grinds at him that goes on. And Bill Self, I think, is an exceptional coach, but he's had to, at times in his career, has done some things that I think were undoubtedly cheating against the rules at the time. But yeah, you can't. What would crush Izzo more than anything else is to be accused of and shown to be a cheater, because his whole
ruins
deal,
the whole thing.
The whole thing goes away.
Spartan Frank. Glad Jason is doing better. Number one, Christie testing the waters will help his game immensely next year. 2, Izzo needs to find a way to teach Marble how to not pick up cheap ones. And 3, when's the last time MSU fans said, it's all right, we lost in basketball, we have football coming?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, if you want to have that response every year, let me recommend Skyman. Right after Michigan State loses in basketball, you pop an edible, and you start thinking forward. You can go to Skyman.
Spring game, woo!
Go to Skyman.com for location information and specials, and just some amazing deals going on there. And just talked to some family friends who had started going to Skyman this week and had an absolutely great experience. I do think that there's something. That's how you feel the buzz in football, right? There's something a little different to the buzz right now than it's been in a while. I do think people moved on quicker from basketball. Part of it was a frustrating basketball season that people's expectations were tempered. Like if this was a basketball team that people were thinking had a chance to win the title and they had lost in round 2, there would have been some real frustration behind it. But I do also think that right now people think there's a chance that the football program's really headed someplace, so they're able to move on. You got to have something to be excited about. And Michigan State fans are truly fortunate in that most schools don't get 2 sports really hardly ever anywhere close together to be excited about at the same time. Kansas basketball, if that team loses in the second round, nobody goes, woohoo, Kansas football. They got to win or they're.
Yeah, but would you rather have like Alabama's kind of success where your football team is going to be absolutely badass every year?
Well, that's a good question for people. That's a great question. And their basketball team's not bad now, but would you rather have what they've had over time?
July topic.
Yeah, there we go.
Jeff Haddis. Number 1, when MSU falls short of big-time winning, Ishbia will step up to buy a recruiting class. 2, Kyle Hamilton will be the first ballot Hall of Famer. Lions need to draft him. 3, Juwan Howard is the next Lakers head coach. And bonus, appreciate you, Jay. The show is ass without you. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Juwan Howard of the Lakers, though, we got to address that. So
yeah, it's been floated, I heard.
It's been floated. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, and who's floating it? Right. And I haven't heard a response from him. I think Juwan Howard is a guy who is going to he's in that sort of prime of his coaching career age. He's a guy he's got an NBA pedigree, and he's a guy who's had some success early. He is going to be floated with NBA jobs every single year. So
why would he want the Lakers job?
Right, and that's the thing about it.
LeBron's gone.
The Lakers job is one of the worst jobs out there right now. Now, you can watch Winning Time, and you can think, but coaches don't last long enough through rebuilds. Their salary cap situation isn't great. They don't have a lot of draft. They've traded away some draft picks. It's just not. There are so many better jobs in the Lakers right now. I'm not saying Juwan Howard at some point won't be enticed to go. I think it'll be, and I do think he'll coach in the NBA at some point. I think it'll be a combination of having fulfilled a mission at Michigan, which I don't think he feels like he's fulfilled yet. And there's just should be no rush in his case. He's proven he's a good coach. It's not like the program's going to fall off the map. He's going to have opportunities in the next 3-4 years. And I think he wants to try and win one at Michigan. He had a team that was pretty close a year ago. I don't see why he would look at a job like the Lakers now. Why not take the Lakers 3 years from now once they've started to rebuild? Why take them?
Because you really want to coach in the NBA.
You don't
After
have to
watching
recruit.
them. Yeah.
I don't know. I think he will. I think he will at some point.
Players listen to you in college, somewhat. Tyler up next. Number 1, Southampton over Chelsea. 0-6 final score. Is Graham's worst call out ever. Jeez. 6-0? 2, 2021 MSU football team's first 8 games are already feeling nostalgic when watching old clips. 3, why has MSU football been regularly handing losses to Michigan and Penn State, but not able to hang with similar recruiting Ohio State? And a bonus. People with loud voices are ass. I guess I'm ass.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have a
kind of
loud
ass
voice.
too. My voice can be my
Half
wife.
deaf and Italian, so I'm loud.
My wife gets so pissed when my voice is too loud, and it happens sometimes. Like,
Is that why you talk so softly on the show?
yeah, because it's
You're
jarring.
scared?
Yeah,
She's going to come around the corner?
yeah. The whole show is based on her never listening, so that's the key. So the Southampton Chelsea thing, I did say I thought Chelsea was ripe to be taken this week. Maybe bet Southampton, and it was 6-0.
And there's nothing worse than giving it advice, and it just absolutely backfires.
And
like that. You know?
The worst thing is, like, even before the
6
game,
goals.
you ever get a feel like early in a game, you're like, wait a sec, this other team is focused. Like Chelsea played 2 games like ass, and like I'm watching the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, these guys look really focused and dialed in. This is the wrong play. And I did give the Brentford one, and that one I think paid out.
Doesn't
but,
matter.
Yeah,
Can't bring that up after 6-0.
It was bad. Yeah, no. To the question about why Michigan State football can regularly hand losses to Michigan and Penn State, but not similar recruiting to Ohio State, I don't think the recruiting is, frankly, quite that similar. I mean, there are some similarity, but there are tiers to everything. You can get on a given day, you can be close enough to one team to beat them, and that team can be close enough to another team to beat it, but you can't beat that other team, if that makes any sense. I'm sort of drawing an arc in my hand if you're watching on video here, so I ask. But it's a fair question. I mean, like Michigan State, if you look at the transitive property, it makes no sense. They beat Michigan in a game that even if Michigan outplayed them for parts of that game, they still won a game and then got just drilled by Ohio State. And they beat Michigan and then Michigan beat Ohio State and looked like the better team. Teams evolve, and it's when you get people and where your weaknesses are. I think Michigan State's weaknesses really, really in the defensive backfield against an Ohio State team that was primed to that was their best, great quarterback, great receivers. Like, that was a problem for MSU. And at that point, Kenneth Walker was banged up, the offensive line. I mean, I don't really have a great answer for it, but there's just there are, you have to be at a certain tier to knock off Ohio State. And that said, you go back 2019, they played Ohio State for a quarter and a half as well as anybody. You go back to 2018, without an offense, it was like 7-6 deep in the third quarter. So like they have not. This is a new thing in terms of Ohio State completely just from the jump demoralizing them.
BPA up next. Number 1, hating soccer, but sitting through 4 days of watching guys play golf is simply mind-blowing. All right. 2, even if Izzo says Malik will get heavy minutes, he inevitably loses minutes to Hauser because words mean nothing. And 3, because of this, Hauser coming back is bad for MSU hoops overall. Let young guys play.
All right, these are good.
First of all, number 1, the difference is I hate soccer people more than I actually hate the game of soccer, because if I don't like soccer, you're going to tell me how I'm missing out by not watching soccer. I don't recruit anyone to watch golf. Golf is boring. I understand that. I like watching golf. I don't try to convince anyone else to watch golf.
So I think that is the problem. Soccer guy has been annoying at certain times.
Watch it. I'm happy for you.
But here's the other thing.
Great.
And we don't like what we don't understand, right? Or we're not invested in. But if you watch like Liverpool play Man City earlier today, the 2 best teams in the world of any international team, any club team, these are the 2 best teams in the world. It was really high-level entertainment, and 4 goals in the game and lots of chances and a lot at stake.
Rory McIlroy and Colin Morikawa both hold out on the 18th hole out of the bunker. More exciting.
Well, here's what I'm saying, though. Soccer itself is an unbelievable sport. It's a beautiful sport when played at a high level. The thing is, and like if we're doing this show in 2050 still, I don't know.
What's the math there?
Yeah, 28 years?
Jesus.
I don't know. Well, it would be tough. It'd be tough. But if we're still doing the show, a lot of the hot takes will be about soccer. Because just as a sport, in terms of aesthetic quality, in terms of excitement, it's better than a lot of the sports we love. It's just better. That doesn't mean we shouldn't love the other sports we're used to and grow up with and understand. What I'm saying is as more people grow up with soccer and understand it and have it part of their, cognitive, it's on TV everywhere, as more kids grow up with it, more kids are invested in top clubs around the world, it's just better than a lot of the shit we watch. We watch college basketball with 56 motherfucking fouls a day, and then we talk about it for 3 hours. And I didn't see a single college basketball game that, in terms of aesthetic quality and excitement and level of athlete, came close to Liverpool Man City today.
Yeah, but the
doesn't mean
difference
you
is
don't love it.
You watch the college basketball game, you can look at your family in the face.
I don't know what that means.
You watch soccer, you have to hide it. You can't tell your family.
Why couldn't you tell your family?
All right, it's the show. JD up next. Number one.
Sorry,
Casey.
Did I ruin the bit? Sorry.
I don't know. Number one, Casey Mize is a bust.
Well, hold on. I want to go back to BPA's third one because I thought this was interesting too. Boys, second and third on Hauser. The idea of Hauser coming back to Michigan State is bad for MSU hoops overall. Do you agree with that?
Joey Hauser coming back?
Because of what it'll do to Malik Hall and his role.
I don't know. No. Yes.
I don't. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, come on, man. I don't know. We talk about it. We've talked about it enough.
Yeah. I don't agree with that. I do think you have to make sure you use Malik Hall correctly and more, and his role expands.
All right, JD. Number one, Casey Mize is a bust. 2, Joey Hauser will come back and start at the 5 as MSU fails to bring in a center transfer. 3, MSU football will go 6-6 if they can't find any more O-line depth in the portal.
Casey Mize a bust?
No.
It's too early.
Too early.
Yeah.
Pitches 5.5 innings. I don't know.
Young pitchers pitching in April. I think when you're a number one pick, everybody's hoping you're Justin Verlander out of the gate.
He has good stuff, though. He's proven that he has good stuff.
He doesn't have – I don't think he has the best stuff of the young pitchers on the roster. And I think that sometimes because he was such a big deal pick that you want that to happen.
Right, and you get talked into some of these guys because all the hype is behind someone, right?
Yeah.
You want Casey Mize, obviously, to be good, and sometimes you turn a blind eye to some things that are glaring. But
well, and I like with all these young pitchers, I think you have to give guys time. You really do. With all the rookies, frankly. Somebody was pointing out maybe it was might even been one of the Shep on the broadcast.
Boo.
Yeah, sorry to bring up his name here, but just talking about the Barry Bonds rookie year and some other guys rookie year. Like there have been a lot of guys who have become bona fide studs in Major League Baseball. So you got to give people time.
Next from South of Munn. Number 1, even with less major wins than Jack, Tiger is the GOAT. Much like Saban over Bear Bryant, it is much harder to win today than it used to be. In old school golf, all you had to be is less drunk and less fat than the other players. 2, Julius Marble will surprise next year. He will be the next big to take the senior jump. And 3, the duvet cover set up on hotel beds is ass. Those things are Blacklight's dream. Excuse me.
Yeah, you don't want to shine a black light on a duvet covered hotel in most places.
It's best to not know.
Yeah, right. It's.
But you stay at like fancy hotels. I mean, we're talking like Motel 6 and shit.
Even so, you want to be like I don't know.
I don't want to know.
And
it's like watching those documentaries about fast food. I don't want to see it.
The germiest thing, the thing that I always handle with the Kleenex if it's not in a baggie is the remote. Like that's the stuff I've read about. Just like the remote in a hotel is like the germiest thing that exists. And I'm like
ordering porn.
You're following the person that ordered porn, and they don't. That thing hasn't been washed off, right? And they just
there's internet now. I don't know if you really need to order porn.
That's true. I wonder if
that Wi-Fi.
It's probably down. No. I look.
Just don't finish on the remote.
I do think there's something to like. Tiger Woods. I think a lot of people would consider the greatest of all time.
But because he changed the way people looked at golf. I mean, and by the way, it's not like he's 10 majors behind Jack Nicklaus.
And Saban over Bear Bryant, because Saban's had to adapt to different types of eras and different. Oh. I mean, all those guys who ran the Veer and fucking won forever because they had 120 scholarship players. They were great, but I'm just not going to give it to anybody in the 70s. You can find me 15 high school coaches around here that could go back and be the great 70s football coach. I mean, it's just
there's a hot take.
That's it. Just is what it is.
Wow, better than Bear Bryant. Ron, Kixie Oats, number 1, Saturday afternoon at the Masters is prime for on the couch napping. 2, we'll all be talking about Caton Hauser after the spring game. And 3, Adam Schefter is a garbage human.
I do think Caton Hauser is the reason a lot of people will be intrigued, and I'm intrigued to see him. And I've tried to temper expectations a little bit, just because if you look at the history of the big-time quarterbacks who've come through, Keith Nickel, Andrew Maxwell is a 4-star Elite 11 guy, Damian Terry, Messiah Weaver. I mean, the guys who've been the bigger names have not won the job. That doesn't mean he won't. Doesn't mean he won't be the exception. But I would not put your stock in him. Instead, I would call Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. They are the people to answer your question about stocks and bonds and savings for retirement and Social Security benefits. These guys are strategic wealth managers. Their client's interest comes first. They're not going to try and get you in any hot product or investment trend. They're going to assess your situation and your specific needs and help you invest wisely based on your goals and your situation. Doesn't matter where you live. These guys are in Southeast Michigan, but Mark and Jay have clients all over the country. Call them 248-626-2000. You can email Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management at info@northcoastwm. Learn more at northcoastwm.com. Let them know Couch and the Rube sent you for a free consultation.
Jay Riemenschneider up next. Number 1, that Frozen 4 loss is a blown opportunity that Michigan will never get back. They'll probably win titles in the future, but there's a great chance no college hockey team will ever have that much high-end talent on one team ever again. 2, Kofi.
Cockburn.
There it is. Hunter Dickinson, Luka Garza, Drew Timme, and others were born 30 years too late. They would all be exactly what an NBA franchise is looking for. Marino, Favre, Montana, Elway, and others were born 30 years too early. NFL QBs are now paid like crazy. And 3, North Carolina has their share of titles, so nobody's crying for them, but they have had some heartbreakers in the title game lately. But unlike most people, I actually like Duke, so I was happy Carolina lost. On a side note, I was passed out by 9, so my sleepy ass missed the whole game. Bonus take. Gonzaga, Villanova, Michigan, and Houston would be a hell of a MTE.
Exemption tournament, yeah.
Okay. Big brands with some history and really good the last decade.
It is true about the, Cockburn and Hunter Dickinson and Luka Garza and Drew. I mean, all these guys. I mean, it's got to suck in some ways if you're a big man but it's no different than being a newspaper man. I wish I was 30 years earlier. We were printing money, like you look at when Ebling and Drew Sharp and Steve Grinzel and these fucksticks were all on the beat, man. The stories, they would head out like Thursday for a football game on Iowa. They'd written all their stuff for the week, the deadline, whatever. No internet things to work, no tweets to have to do. They'd golf wherever they were. Just incredible life.
Expense everything.
Incredible. And you know what? It didn't matter because they were printing money. It was a better world. And it didn't matter if what you were covering nobody cared about because nobody knew. We didn't have any metrics for it. So you could be on some beat that the freaking LSJ had a lug nuts beat writer for a year. Nobody knew. We traveled with MSU hockey. I mean, and MSU hockey deserves a certain coverage when they're good, but nobody knew. Nobody had any idea what was actually
nuts beat writer.
Yeah,
jeez.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. But to the Final Four loss being a blown opportunity for Michigan, the Frozen Four loss, I should say this. It's not really. I mean, this is the problem with the Frozen Four. It's a one-game scenario in a sport with very few variables. They lost to a Denver team that won the national title, that now has as many national titles in college hockey as anybody. I think they tied Michigan for that. So it's a good program, and it's a one-game scenario. And I will never take the college hockey postseason seriously until they play best of 3 series. It's hard for me to give a shit because it's just such a crapshoot in hockey. You can't play one-game playoffs in any level of hockey. It's crap.
Carl Mylock up next. Number 1, the NCHC is the strongest conference of any sport in college sports. 5 of the last 6 national champions. 2, Western Michigan offers the best overall athletics out of any of the MAC schools. And 3, once Riley Green returns, the Tigers will finish above 500 the rest of the way and make the playoffs.
Oh, that'd be good
Hope
for
you're right, Carl.
Good for your cards. And I also have a little futures. I mean, I jumped on the Riley Green Rookie of the Year stuff. It's gonna be hard now. He's gonna have to really
Better than Torque. Overrated.
after one weekend. Yeah, he's gonna have to come back and rake though if he's gonna. The NC is the National Collegiate Hockey Conference, and it's the best hockey league. And I guess if you're in, because they're only in one sport though, like that's not really. It's not. I guess of any single sport, it's probably the best of anything.
Gavin Haas, number 1, Welp. The Tigers are going to be unpredictable as ever. 2, MSU football is winning the Natty this year. Can't remember an offseason with this amount of hype. And 3, Jeremy Fears is going to be a lottery pick after spending 2 years at MSU.
Well, let me introduce 16-year-old Gavin to 10-year-old Gavin and remind him about the 2016 offseason because there was some serious hype. And I remember the thing about that year was they have that green and white days. It was sort of like the Hard Knocks on Big Ten Network did the whole thing during fall camp, and then they went to Notre Dame and they had that exciting half. And blowhards like me were like, "This team is the greatest team ever." And so there has been hype before. What I think is, and the thing back then is there was no reason not to have hype. Like bottom line, and the way things fell out. Probably are hard. I mean, most of the time that's not going to happen either. They had gone 35-6, won 2 Big Ten titles in 3 years, been to the playoff, and had a recruiting class of 10 4-star guys. I understand the hype, and it just didn't work out. But I won't say this. It's not like this is something that hasn't happened. I think what's interesting here, and I think people are more cautiously optimistic. People feel like they've just landed a coach who's absolutely fit for these times. And by the way, if you're to the Jeremy Fears point from Gavin, if you get a chance, look up Fears on Twitter and some of the video. I mean, I think he is going to be a fun player to watch at Michigan State.
Chris Eastlick up next. Number 1, I've heard a lot of things from the public through emails. Mr. Benjen coming in with the weather jargon, his ass is a new one. 2, I'll volunteer a Wednesday, July segment about my emails and to answer the burning forecast questions, although Mr. Benjen has me doing some inward reflection. 3, if not a Wednesday show, Dow Diamond in Midland would be a great couch in the Rube gathering spot to answer these questions over beer and baseball. With Mr. Benjen.
Yeah. Chris, I think we're going to take you up on this in the summer, by the way.
1,000%.
I think this will be just a heck of a show.
Can we do it like next week?
Yeah. Who needs
Sounds
July?
great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andrew Gauthier. Number 1, Tiger making the weekend may be the most impressive golf story this week. 2, the Masters really is a tradition unlike any other. There's just something special about it. And 3, announcing the spring game will be a series of drills rather than an actual game will suppress the turnout.
I think you're totally right on that. I think that's okay. I don't think.
Do you lie to people?
Yeah, you got to let the people know what they're going to get.
Know? Oh, really? I would just say lie to me, and then I show up and there's drills, and I'm already there.
So you're okay with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think
people. D'Antonio's spring games where he just made up scores and the defense would get 50 points and whatever. It's the same kind of shit.
It is.
Just happy to see the guys. You're happy to be in the stadium, especially if it's nice out.
But I do think Andrew's right that knowing it's not an actual game, it feels like there's just sort of this people are on the fence because a spring football game by its nature is something that people are on the fence about going to. You know what I mean? It's like yeah,
comp.
Well,
comp can't wait.
Comp will be there, but most people, it's like if I was not there to cover it, and I would be like, yeah, I'll go to a spring game, and then if my wife said, but I was thinking about doing this, I'd be like, okay, we can do that. Like it wouldn't be like something I like. I've got to do this. Like this, it's not like it wouldn't be like a game in the fall. Put it that way. I don't think it is.
Professor up next. Number 1, Tiger looking old makes me feel old. 2, the White Sox are going to win the World Series if they get a little bullpen help. And 3, 55-degree day beats an 85-degree day, hands down.
100% on the 55-degree day. 50 this Sunday, I would take over any day that my ass is sweating.
I'll take 55, 85, 75, 65.
Anything in there.
Windows were wide open today.
Yeah, no, it felt absolutely amazing. Yeah, the thing about Tiger Woods, it's not that when he looks that old. When he looks hobbled, I get a little like,
the guy did crash into a tree going 80 miles an hour.
Right, almost lost his
people
leg.
mentioned over the 4 days.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard any of that coverage.
I did hear that.
Ken Chu. Number 1, Jaden Reed will be an even better this season. 2, finally a nice fucking day. And 3, I'm getting back on the ice tonight. It's been over 2 years since my team won a championship, just before everything shut down for COVID. I'll be 60 on the 27th, still playing 18 and over.
Good for you, Ken.
Man.
Ride that athletic prime as long as you freaking can.
And brag about that to guys our age.
Yeah.
Because it gives us hope.
It does. No,
20-year-olds are like, F you, old man.
No, but
we're like, oh, my God, that's great, Ken.
Yeah, it's inspiring to know our lives aren't almost over. That's helpful.
I think you're dying all the time. Pearson, number 1, perception of MSU as a winning football program changed when Nike, rebranded and changed their font typography. 2, MSU should capitalize on publicity of winning time and feature Magic for Midnight Madness. 3, Woodshed needs a major facelift if MSU wants a national brand recognition. And bonus hot take, gummy worms don't belong on ice cream. Get that stuff out of here.
I'm with you on that. And usually it's like the frozen yogurt places. There's a lot of good toppings, but gummy worms are too much their own thing. It's not the type of taste and texture I want in ice cream. Are you with me on this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for kids that have teeth to rot out.
But even then, like, there are lots of good things. You can put sprinkles or chocolate chips or syrup or lots of things that are just better with the texture.
Bananas.
Bananas are even better. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna get some ice cream on the way home at this point. But yeah, I'm totally with you there. The idea that Spartan Stadium, well, first of all, that they should capitalize on the publicity of winning time and feature Magic for Midnight Madness. I don't think you need that for Midnight Madness is already an insulated MSU fan base. You don't need if you're trying to build the brand outside of Michigan State. There might be ways to do that with Magic there, but the problem is Magic does not like the winning time show. So I don't know if he's
don't bring it up.
So yeah, I would not bring it up with him. I do think Spartan Stadium needs some work. I think there will be some work done, but I don't know how much. I mean, I don't. What is it? I mean, I think other facilities and I think there are some facilities that have been majorly upgraded within the Spartan Stadium. And I think what's most important is the facilities that involve the players. Like, you're talking about recruiting. What really matters is locker rooms and the facilities they use within the stadium.
Nick Palmer, number 1, Adam Schefter is an example of think before you tweet. 2, Bryce Harper shouldn't have gotten MVP last year. 3, I'm going to take the over on 4.5 players who leave MSU after the spring game.
Yeah, I go over.
Sure.
What we set that? Did we set? I think we did set that 4.5, but I probably should set it higher. You said it should be higher.
Someone said 2.5, right? I think in one of the either Twitter questions or Twitter whatever hot takes. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think so. And then we said 4.5, right?
Yeah, we set it at 4.5, and I think the over is probably the way to go for sure. And keep in mind again that for fall sports to play immediately, May 1st is that deadline. So all this stuff's going to happen pretty quickly.
What's the number that would concern you? If it got how far over 4.5 would have to
to me, it's not the number; it's who, right?
Sure.
So like if there are guys that guy was supposed to start, like things like that would be more.
But not
concerning.
many people know every single player. I think a number, maybe some guys or some people.
If you got up,
man,
if you got up around a dozen or more,
yeah,
you'd start to go, boy, that's a lot of guys checking out. But and you're gonna have to replace those in terms of depth. But again, it still would be more about who, and I think that's the stuff to sort of pay attention to.
Mark up next. Number 1, a single not so hot take. The English Premier League with relegation is the best. I watched my team Everton in 17th place play an incredibly tense game yesterday against Man U, and it felt like a playoff game. In the U.S., unlikely I even watched that game, and if I did, my team is incentivized to lose. Bonus take. The tension was real because I choose to support a real team in my 20s, not a front runner from London like all the plastic Tottenham fans.
Appreciate you, Mark. I am totally. It doesn't work in a franchise system over here in the States, and we're not used to it. It would be too jarring. But you're totally right. I mean, one of the things that's appealing about the Premier League and the English soccer system is the promotion and relegation system, and the fact that Like, I watched that Everton game too and watched them beat Man U, and like this great club like Everton could fall out of the Premier League if they don't play well here at the end. So there's tension at the bottom. You're not just worried about your draft pick and things like that. That would be great. And I think it would be something that the U.S. fans would embrace if they were used to it. And like today, even at the top, the Man City game against Liverpool, that game in a playoff system like we have over here isn't that exciting. Yeah, it's the two best teams, but there's nothing at stake. Instead, the winner of that game, and they tied, so it's still going to be incredibly tense throughout that, but the winner of that game was probably going to win the title, which meant a ton. So I love a lot of things about their system. I love a lot of things about our system, and one of the great things about all of it being shown to us here is that we get to learn it and take part in it and get a lot of the best of both worlds. Like, I love the NCAA tournament. I love the NBA playoffs for different reasons. So I'm cool that we don't have it, but I do envy a little bit of what they have over there.
Jay Spry up next. Number 1, I feel like there's money to be made betting against Aston Villa. Steve Gerrard is ass. 3, having a cold is ass. I should probably start wearing a mask again. 3, can't wait for MSU to start their hockey and softball programs. Not having those sports is ass.
I mean,
having the flu wasn't bad. I lost some lbs.
Yeah, cold sucked though. The flu itself, if it's only like a 24-hour stomach bug, isn't that horrible.
Yeah.
But what you had was pretty severe, man.
That was like a week and a half where it just sucked the life out of you.
But colds are up there.
Crazy.
I mean, I wrote a column in high school that that I thought kids who came to school with a cold should be suspended for 3 days. And the reason I wrote it for the Zodiac, Sexton High School student paper, was my point was, A, it's disrespectful. B, I don't believe teachers should be able to incentivize attendance through attendance policies that say you don't have to take the final exam because that incentivizes kids coming to school sick. But if you sneeze in my face, if you cough on me, if you get me sick, I would so much rather be punched in the face, which is a 3-day suspension, than be miserable for 10 days, to be plugged up. It's like the worst feeling in the freaking world.
How did you know how many days you get for punching someone?
Well, a fight was a 3-day suspension.
Really?
I knew that, yeah, in Sexton High School in the mid-'90s at least.
Man.
So to me, like, what's the greater offense? What's the greater disrespect? And obviously, COVID has brought a lot of these questions to the forefront. But I've been way out in front on this. I was ahead of my time for sure at Sexton High School.
I think you were right on time.
I was, yeah, something like that. That is a story almost worth telling. Again, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. If you're looking for a place for lunch with a colleague, for a date night this week, just for a drink at the end of a long day. Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue. Easy parking right there, sort of the south end of Washington Avenue in downtown. Outstanding menu with lighter options, comfort foods, really just a spacious and cozy vibe. And maybe my favorite, one of my favorite beers, favorite stout in the world, the American Stout. Give it a shot. Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue.
Rich Sering, I guess. Number 1, Chris Allen was accused of being a bad teammate. He was gone. Hogard, now supposedly the same accusations. What defines a bad teammate? 2, MSU without Max Christie will not compete for much of anything. And 3, MSU football team will struggle on offense due to the line and no Kenneth Walker.
So I have not heard this Hogard thing, and I haven't talked to anybody about it since recently. So at some point I will. And this just came up Friday, and really hadn't been. I don't know if there's anything to it. I don't know what it is. The bad teammate with Chris Allen, I believe Chris Allen might have slept with somebody's girlfriend or something like that. But I do know this about Chris Allen. The guy who's now the coach at Grand Valley was the assistant at Iowa State when Chris Allen went to left Michigan State and went over there. And he said something to me at one point about, all the kids in the world, you finish coaching them and you want to keep in touch. Chris Allen was the first kid he'd ever coached, everywhere he'd been, that he was just done with. He was like, I'm just done with that kid. So I think what Chris Allen's issues at that time might have been more severe than, when you hear a coach say that, right? So I don't know where the A.J. Hogard stuff's coming from. I don't know what that means. What defines a bad teammate. It can mean a lot of different things. And I don't know that it's true. And so I'm not, until I have some information on that, I don't want to get into it, because my experience with A.J. Hogard has been nothing but positive. Seems like a nice enough kid, and I have no reason to this point to think to think otherwise.
Mojo Jojo. Number 1, LaMelo to the refs. I'm going to be a ref when I'm done hooping and show y'all how to ref. He's right. 2, if this is what the spring game is going to become, they shouldn't have it at all. And 3, objectively, Eastern traditions are stranger than Christmas ones.
Dressing up in a bunny suit.
People saying Happy Easter to people, like forcing it, like went through the checkout lines and stuff. Like, all right, have a nice day. All right, you too. Happy Easter. Like, all right.
So an egg hunt.
Not everyone celebrates.
But think about it, like an egg hunt. So even the secular, I mean, like even you take Jesus out of it. Like you can take Jesus out of Christmas and it's just Santa. It's
how dare you?
It's stockings. It's presents, right? Yeah. And it can still be family stuff. And Easter can be that for some people too. It's the Easter bunny. It's egg hunts. It's stuff like that. It's Easter baskets. And I do think so. Which is more weird? That there's a guy who apparently comes through a chimney and drops off presents, and you have a tree in your house, or and does a sleigh around the whole world, or that there's a giant bunny. And I used to be afraid of giant rabbits when I was a kid, and or things like the Easter bunny. I did not like seeing the Easter bunny in a mall or anything like that. And then an Easter bunny, and you're hunting for eggs, in a yard or in a house or something like. Which is more weird, do you think?
A guy coaching kids soccer who doesn't have a kid on the team.
Oh, ouch.
Beats them both, hands down. Let's take a break.
All right, we'll be right back. Couch in the Roof, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, and our Sunday night show brought to you by our friends Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Skymint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Skymint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Skymint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRoof20 for 20% off your first visit. Skymint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com. Trust matters, especially when it's your money. Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management work hard to build a relationship of trust by providing thoughtful, objective guidance and placing your interests first. Invest with knowledgeable financial advisors who are on your side. Call today and tell them you're a friend of the show for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation. 248-626-2000 and ask for Mark or Jay. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Roof, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to be better, to do better, look better, love better every damn day of their lives. Go to skymint.com for location information and daily specials. And remember, You can always use the Couch of the Rube promo code Couch and Rube20. You're going to love the experience at Skymint. And our Sunday night show brought to you by our friends Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. If you have investment questions, Mark and Jay are here for you. Give them a call, 248-626-2000, 248-626-2000. You can email them at info@northcoastwm.com. Let them know Couch and the Rube sent you for a free consultation to see if Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management are a good fit for you. Jason, before we get into the rest of these hot takes, I forgot I went to Hamilton on Friday night or Saturday. Yeah, Friday night.
Yeah,
at Wharton, exceptional, and ran into. I know a couple listeners were there and ran into some readers and enjoyed those interactions. But it was strange. 4 minutes before the end of the show, like going into the final number, there was a medical emergency in the audience.
Wow.
And they had to stop it for like half an hour. It was crazy. You could. Some of the kids were trying to stay
4 minutes to go?
It was brutal.
Oh.
Like, it's that close. They're like coming out. It's after the duel. Like, Hamilton has been shot. Like, spoiler alert, he dies. And they're going into the final number here. And somebody yelled, lights, and they bring up the lights. And the actors sort of see it and walk off the stage and sort of nod. But it was I felt bad for the guy because he looked like a fairly young guy. I don't know if it was a seizure or whatever. He eventually was
Was he all right?
Once the medical people got there, he eventually was able to walk off to the stretcher or whatever. But
did he finish the show?
Well, he was not in the show. He did not stay.
Well, I'm saying,
no.
4 minutes to go. I know he wasn't in the show.
He left. They waited and they restarted it. But anyway, I thought that was.
Would you have been mad if he all of a sudden walked back down and took his seat for the last 4 minutes?
No, well, no. I mean, it's probably humiliating as hell for him.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine being that guy?
I could not imagine stopping a play. First of all, being at one. Second of all, stopping one. Everyone's staring at you. People are a half hour. Oh, man.
I think, and people understand, they gave him an applause. Yeah, and I think you'd like Hamilton, by the way. Hamilton is good.
Well, you just ruined it. He dies.
What? Yeah,
in the duel.
Yeah, but
I had no idea.
But you've known that since the milk commercials. You remember the milk commercials? It was like the Got Milk stuff, and it was the guy called. It's like a radio station, and it was like, "Who shot Alexander Hamilton?" And the guy's like, "Aaron Burr." He's trying to say, but he didn't have milk, and he had peanut butter in his mouth, and he couldn't say Aaron Burr.
No, I was watching sports or something.
Okay, all right,
I had no idea.
That is not a story we're telling, but it is presented by Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. Let's get back into these hot takes.
That was a good story. Al, up next. Number 1, adults in Easter Bunny costumes are creepy. 2, yellow and green jelly beans are underrated. 3, T-Wolves, Pelicans, Nets, and Hawks win in the play-in games.
I'm with you on the Easter Bunny costumes. I've never been a fan. I was scared of Big Bird and Big Rabbits. Those are the things I was scared of as a kid.
No clowns?
Clowns didn't. I mean, I wasn't a huge clown guy.
Clowns.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It is amazing the amount of things we think that'll entertain children that actually scare the shit out of them.
Like Bozo the Clown. I like watching that on TV, but when I saw him face to face, when we were at like a carnival, they were carny clowns too.
Not cool.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
I've seen some stuff.
Yeah.
Treese, weekend highlights. Number 1, wedding dress shopping is exhausting. Why is it so challenging? 2, Cam Smith's mustache is quite interesting. And 3, fried salami is underrated.
Appreciate you, Skymint. Well done, Therese. A couple things. Is it wedding dress shopping exhausting and challenging, or is it just, are you questioning whether you're going through this is the right thing? Is what I'm wondering.
Get it? You want out, Treese? Blink twice, am I right? Take my wife, please.
No, but it's worth getting the right one, I think, because you're going to be in a lot of photos with it. It's going to be something you remembered. Get one you like. That's
sure.
For sure. The mustache was weird. It's a weird mustache.
Now, I said when she was talking about this, I said he's going to regret in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I set an Alexa alert for 10 years from now at 1:10 in the afternoon. Cam Smith's going to look at that and go, oh, man, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It was a bad look. I mean, it's a rat tail, and he's got that mustache.
It's not, it's something that might come back in once every 40 years.
When was it ever in?
Yeah, it really wasn't.
When was that in?
Yeah.
When you see that, it would be a guy holding a Mountain Dew and like a NASCAR shirt on.
Right.
It's never been in.
It's never been in at the Masters.
No. Joshua Bishop. Number 1, based on my Pro Football Focus mock draft grades, I should be the Lions' next GM. 2, Oberon is the most overrated beer. And 3, Sunday at the Masters is officially the first day of spring. And bonus take, Schefter's ass.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Has he not apologized? Is that true?
I don't think
Are we
he
sure?
has. Yeah, well, not that I've seen. But
so how is he going to go? Because he goes on that show, Get Up, on ESPN. How is he going to go on that show tomorrow morning or whenever he goes on? All of these guys hate him.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What does ESPN do?
He ought to be. That's a good question with him. I don't know. He's such a.
I'm not saying the guy should lose his job by any means, but if he's not going to come out and apologize.
But if there's anybody in my life who I would ever look at that I didn't know well enough to really judge, but was going to judge anyway and describe them as a penis wrinkle, it would be Adam Schefter.
Penis wrinkle. All right.
So Oberon, overrated beer. I disagree. I like it, but I'm with you on, like, you can have something that becomes so rated, so everybody loves it that you sort of, and it's not your thing. Like that, like
soccer.
Well, Bell's is Two Hearted. I don't love Two Hearted. I'm just not. I drank a lot of it for a while. Now it's kind of like a Billy Joel song that I've heard too many times. I know it's probably quality, but I just don't need it again.
Brian Shepard. Number 1, Graham's North Carolina destroying Coach K's retirement tour wasn't a big deal take. Goes on his Mount Rushmore of worst takes of all time, along with gems like the Dave Warner offense will be the most prolific in MSU history, and Alex Carter is better than Kirk Cousins. As a diehard MSU fan and alum, if Izzo announced a retirement tour, invited all of his players back to the Breslin and got smoked in his last game by Michigan, then lost as a 2 seed to an 8 seed Michigan team in the Final Four, that would be the most devastatingly negative thing I can possibly imagine and impossible to emotionally recover from. North Carolina essentially devalued all of Coach K's previous accomplishments in a 3-week span and can throw a trump card to win any argument with a Duke fan for the rest of history. Remember, sports fandom is based on irrational emotion. I realize that the stats and logic of Coach K's accomplishments are impressive, but from a pure idiot fan emotion perspective, that was an all-time mule kick to the balls off the top rope.
Do you agree with Brian?
Well, I said exactly what Brian said on our Hot Take show after it happened. I said, how could you ever recover?
Right,
and I gave that example. It would depress me to no end. He's got 2 more. I know that was long.
But that was good, though. By the way, if you're going to, like, that was edging on really long. But if you're going
to. That had to be emailed. There's no way that's Twitter.
It's definitely emailed.
Okay.
But if you're going to do it that long, make it that good. That would be my advice to people. That was really good. I understand why. Here's my problem and why I'm not connecting on this one and why my take is so bad. It's because I struggle to see things from that perspective anymore, and it sucks. Let me be honest with you. Like, people, if the thing about being in journalism or becoming objective in things or losing fandom, like, part of that is true for most people, but it also sucks. Like, don't get me wrong.
But it's common sense, though.
But what I mean is, I miss in life and would love to have back something that truly, truly stirred me as a fan. And I don't have it anywhere. I don't even have it in teams I don't cover right now. Like, I want teams to win. I want the Tigers to do well. I want the Pistons to do well. I don't have anything that, like, really pisses me off or really upsets me unless I lose a bet. And I miss that. So I do. That's what I'm probably missing. Sports fandom is based on irrational emotion. So when people are arguing, he's right that if this happened to Michigan State, Michigan fans would be merciless, whatever the word is. So you're right, and I'm probably wrong on this.
But it's just weird that you think that just because you have no feelings regarding sports, you can't look at Coach K losing at home during his retirement tour where everyone was there.
That was bad. I'm talking about
then in the Final Four.
The Final Four was it was a dead tie game. It was 2 teams that were dead even, and so the game just happened to end and one team was ahead. You can't brag about that. Like, I don't.
Yeah, you can. Okay. You ended Coach K's career.
Yeah.
And you have championships to back it up. Duke fan can't say a word. It's great. Alex James.
No, he's got 2 more here. Quick ones.
I said that, but then you just kept talking. So,
sorry.
2, does Adam Schefter actually write his own tweets, or is some assistant intern getting fired this weekend? Good Lord, that was awful.
I think he writes them, yeah.
I would hope so. 3, college refs are ass.
We're with you, Brian. Good stuff, Brian.
What'd they do? College refs are ass? What'd they do over the weekend? Anything? Alex James, number 1, wild animals should have evolved to know better than to make noises before humans are awake in the morning. 2, if the weather at Augusta was warm like usual, Tiger would have had a better weekend showing. His body just can't handle the cold. And 3, Scheffler looks like a Buzz Lightyear and Cameron Smith looks like a giant rat. May the best man win today.
So, I am curious to see, like Tiger Woods apparently is going to play the Open, where the weather's not always great overseas, too, at the St. Andrews this year, which is pretty cool. By the way, I was at St. Andrews at a choir school a week after the Open in '95 when John Daly won it.
No kidding.
Just interesting information for people that they may or may not want. I do wonder if it had been a little nicer. Like, you could tell he was laboring, and if it would have helped. The real question for Tiger Woods to me is not whether he can play at that level, is whether his body ever again gets to the point that it allows him to. I mean, that's right. That's the question.
Yeah, but people, I mean, all 4 days, it wasn't just Tiger, but other guys. I mean, they were firing them in the grandstands, and some of the shots we were watching are like, wait a minute, I hit like that. So I think it was affecting everyone.
Yeah.
Grob. Up next, number one, the 1968 Tigers had Mickey Lolich and Denny McLain. The 84 Tigers had Jack Morris, Dan Petrie, and Milt Wilcox. Jim Leland's Tigers had Verlander and Scherzer. The 22 Tigers have their bullpen. No one. I'm not as optimistic as everyone else. 2, I once won clubhouse passes in the Grand Blanc and got to follow Tiger Woods. Tom Izzo and Spartan basketball players around the course. Was actually interviewed by Mark Jacobson, and that night my TV interview was sandwiched between interviews with Izzo and Tiger Woods. Surreal. 3, Tiger and Schwarzenegger are great men, and being upset over infidelities is bizarre. Imagine moving to Austria, being famous for bodybuilding, marrying royalty, becoming a movie star, and then becoming an elected politician there. And I'm supposed to be upset because he's banging Alice? Bonus. What's worse, losing to Appalachian State in football, calling a timeout you don't have in basketball, or taking 7 future NHL first-round draft picks and losing to Denver in hockey?
I'd say the others, because it's a one-game scenario. It's hockey, and Denver might be the best team in hockey. So I don't think that's bad. I mean, look, just and also recruiting in college hockey doesn't having future draft picks isn't always how you win. Like, they have a lot of talent, but you got. I mean, it's a league where you have 21-year-old freshmen sometimes and 24-year-olds still playing, and sometimes you got to have the right mix. And look, the college hockey postseason is ass. It's a horrible setup for a sport with that few variables determining so much. It sucks if you don't get it done, but it's really hard, and it takes more luck than anything else to win it. That sort of sport ought to always have
Who's mad at Schwarzenegger and his infidelities? I mean, I don't think anyone's mad. It just blows my mind that people just look past Tiger's infidelities. Should they can't be canceled or anything like that? No, but imagine moving to Austria and being famous for bodybuilding, marrying royalty, and cheating on your wife with the maid who's like a 3.5, a Lansing 3.5. It's just wild. No one hates Schwarzenegger for it.
Tiger is certainly over. Tiger is an interesting. Both of them are interesting, but Tiger is a really interesting case because it was one of the more. I mean, it's proof that we love a redemption story more than anything else. It's proof of how beloved he was before then, and it is. I mean, it is. I'm sure there are some people out there that go, "Wait a second, isn't this the guy who was like sleeping with whores in Vegas?
Yeah,
and leaving his wife with their kids?"
But you're all right with that. I'm just saying, it's just weird that everyone is so like, "Oh my God, Tiger, it's so great to see you." And yeah, we've had people write in either the hot takes or a Twitter question saying like "F Tiger." There are people out there. I'm just saying, you just see,
and we don't know. Like, I don't know the marriage situation of most athletes that you cover or root for in a lot of ways, and so you try to just separate that. And so Tiger is absolutely, in terms of.
I was just saying, why get married if you're Tiger and you want to do those things? You could. I'm sure that you can have kids with someone and have that arranged. You don't have to get married
because you need the cute person waiting for you on the 18th green after you sink the final putt.
You can have that arranged too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying,
like $1 gajillion.
In terms of the way Tiger is beloved for what happened, it is certainly an example of how much people love him, how much he did for golf.
But he falls asleep behind the wheel of his car. It shows that. The police records are sealed. Everyone doesn't ask no one asks any questions about it. That's what I'm talking about. Do I hate Tiger because of it? Absolutely not. It's just kind of interesting.
He is, the way we handle Tiger Woods is, and and our sort of obsession with him is certainly there's some psychological stuff that you could probably look at most fans and say, why is that? Why do we feel the way we do?
And then Arnold knocked her up. He knocked up the maid. Has a child with her. It's crazy. Name Image podcast. Number 1, Jesse Marsh and Leeds United doing well is incredibly important for the future of American soccer. 2, Bill Self will retire, go the NBA route, and within the next few months due to NCAA sanctions looming. 3, MSU football could go 8-4 next season, and it shouldn't be considered a disaster.
No, it should be considered about on schedule.
But also, how are you losing? Like you mentioned earlier.
And who to? Right. And yes.
When you go 8-4, how is that happening?
Because there are 8-4 seasons where you feel like, boy, they maximize who they are, and there are ones where you go, boy, they could have done more.
Like last year?
Yes.
That felt like an 8-4 season. How up and down it was.
And yet they won 11 games. But that felt like they maximized who they were. If that team had gone 8-4, 8-5, nobody would feel that way, right? And that they maximized it quite that way. I do love that the percentage of soccer hot takes we're getting is, you remember I said 50% by 2050? We may beat 2050 on that. Jesse Marsh, I do believe, is...
Well, I guess we quit before then.
Leeds United not getting relegated and looking good under the American manager, I do think is good. Is good for American soccer, no question.
Sunshine Spartan. Number 1, Tiger will never win another golf tournament. 2, Detroit Tigers need more pitching to compete with the big boys. And 3, leaving Michigan weather is the best decision anyone can make.
I'm not willing to say that about Tiger Woods yet. I think if he, I still think he's got magic in him if his legs allow. Like if he gets his body back where he can walk the course, and that's not the issue.
These guys are too good now, though. I just don't think Tiger can. It's great to have him out there and to watch him play.
You don't think there could be like 2019 Masters one more weekend sometime along the way? Okay.
I don't see it.
Okay. And with the Tigers, the way their pitching was this weekend, it looks like it, and I think their bullpen injuries are a problem. But I don't know that they're, let's let these young guys. I think there could be a point where you all of a sudden look at it differently a month from now, and they're rolling a little bit in the starting lineup, and you go, boy, they're really good 1 through 5. That's pretty solid.
Clint Bainey. Number 1, I watched 3 minutes of Premier League soccer yesterday while the Masters went to commercial. I felt like Will Smith getting cuckolded by Jada. 2, Couch. My son is transferring from Columbia College of Chicago to DePaul in the fall. I hope that doesn't hurt my recent surge in the takes rotation.
You'll notice how far down you are here, Clint.
Yeah, banned. 3, Kevin from Rochester Hills calls me an ass kisser. I call it networking. Bonus take. Flat Earth believers, holy shit, enough already. Please don't procreate.
And while I love Columbia College Chicago, I think I cannot fault anybody for going to DePaul and going to the north side of Chicago. Could be a lot of fun too when you're in college, and I hope he's having a blast in the city. And look, 3 minutes of Premier League soccer is not going to give you it's not going to make you appreciate it. You gotta get all the way in, or it's probably never going to happen for you. And I'm not going to fault you for it. I'm not going to be soccer guy that's going to admonish you for it. I'm just saying what's going to happen in the future by this show in 2050 when Jason and I are still doing it in 28 years.
Cuckold means that you watch your wife have sex with someone else, and you get laughed at during it. Dark Mantonio.
Thank you.
Number 1. The NCAA tourney is the most exciting, but also most ridiculous way to determine a champion. A team that was good all year long, losing in a one and done, doesn't mean they are now bad. Conversely, winning it all could be a case of a good, not great team getting hot at the right time. 2, I don't hate players or coaches, don't know them personally, but can hate the team they're on. And sometimes hearing the stories and interviews or seeing them cry after a loss, all the empathy comes out. And you truthfully can hurt for them, even if they are not, or even if they are on your favorite team's rival.
So the first one here, you're absolutely right. I mean, the NCAA tournament does not give you the best team a lot of years. But I'm okay with the setup of it in basketball, unlike hockey, because there are so many variables in a basketball game. Enough happens in a basketball game. Their teams are scoring 75, 80 points. It's not one shot. It's not one bad bounce. That there's enough that I don't know if there's a better way to do it, and it's the thing I love that's different about the NBA. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a better way to do the NCAA tournament. And you're right, you're not always going to get the best team, but those are the breaks.
Tyrone Couch. Number 1, Tiger is a prick. If golf had any respect for their reputation, they would have booted him years ago. As a high school teacher, if I get a DUI or bang some hot chick that is not Miss Couch, I lose my job. I disagree that people still like him. I turn golf off because of his assiness. 2, people that get pissed when I ask for my steak medium well or well done can F off. I'm not a vampire. 3, the missing bodies on the O-line will make MSU spring game attendance smaller. Cost 1.5 wins this year, but will add experience that will add 1.5 wins in value to next year and create an 11-win season in 23-24. Hey, Firekeepers, want to set the over-under early? I'll drop 1750 today.
It's a little, yeah. You don't want to do it for the year after this year, before this year happens. And the offensive line, we've talked about a lot for Michigan State, could be the group that's on a more regular development schedule and holds this program back from where other positions are ready to go. And there's some guys in the transfer portal. A dude at Georgia who it was slated to maybe start, just jumped in the portal today. There are guys out there, if they feel like they need to go get somebody, that are still available. I don't know that this roster is completely done. And Tyrone here is clearly somebody who sees Tiger, and there are probably a lot more people like Tyrone than we realize that don't like Tiger Woods.
But if a high school teacher could get 80 million people to watch a golf event, you could get away with a DUI. Hans Jurgen, number 1, sports suck this time of year. F you, golf. 2, Liza Minnelli should have acted more during her career. She is quite talented. 3, I wish Putin was only 3 inches tall so I could squish him with my bare foot and feel his blood, guts, and goo between my toes. 60% of the human body is water. Bonus hot take. The suburbs, Kyiv, drove out the Russians. American suburbs could never do that. They are little and wussy. Could you see Okemos defeating the Russians? Lansing or Ovid would have to come to their rescue.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Ovid's coming. They got the arms for that. And lastly, Mr. Benjen. Number 1, English Premier League refs are fucking ass. Liverpool guy dragged down in the box, no penalty. City guy's jersey brushed against, yellow card. Kill them all. 2, girls in Medellin. Girls in Medellin. Good luck pronouncing that, Jay. Thank you. Colombia are incredible. Highly recommend a visit. For free? Girls are free there? 3, being openly offered drugs in the form of lollipops while hanging at the open air bar while trying to watch the game is insane.
So, by the way, if I won't go to Mexico, I'm definitely not going to Colombia.
Dude, I'm getting a ticket now. Drug lollipops?
You would not come back alive from Colombia. There's no way. You would say something wrong to somebody.
Medellin.
I think it's Medellin because it was in the show.
I know, and I watched it.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
And
I've watched many documentaries about Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, so Medellin. Yes,
yeah, it's hot in here.
It's hot in here. Yeah. We appreciate all of you guys. We appreciate your hot takes. You produce the show for us. Great stuff as always. And Mr. Nautic Pants, we will try and move you up, move you around, unless you prefer to be at the bottom there of the hot takes. We appreciate Skymint. Go to skymint.com for location information and specials. Some great deals going on right now in this spring at every Skymint location. We appreciate Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management. That's 248-626-2000, 248-626-2000. Give Mark and Jay a call. Look, let them know Couch in the Roof sent you. Free consultation. Find out if Mark and Jay at North Coast Wealth Management are a fit for you. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Great place for just about any occasion during the week, during any time. Brunch on the weekends. That's 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing.